Donald Trump has broken every single promise he made on the campaign trail. He promised that he would lower prices. They're actually rising. He said he'd end the war in Ukraine before he was even sworn in. That, of course, has not happened. But the promise that Donald Trump has broken, which has really stuck with MAGA, is about Jeffrey Epstein, releasing the Epstein files. That was a big promise for the conservative movement, for all the conspiracy theorists. And has it happened? Well, of course not. And usually when Donald Trump breaks a promise, Republicans just move on. They don't care. They fall in line. But not with this one. Not only is the MAGA crazy crowd upset, but Republicans in Congress are calling Donald Trump out over it, and specifically James Comer, who made a pretty shocking accusation about Trump and Epstein that really has MAGA going. And we're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we are able to get into what James Comer said, I first want to get a little refresher on this first launch of the Epstein files that Chris Hayes covered right here.
Donald Trump, and take it with a grain of salt, has promised full transparency when it comes to most of the big conspiracy theories of the past 60 years, something he campaigned on in the lead up to the election. The issue led to an absolutely Hall of Fame interview clip.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others.
Yep, Epstein. Sure about that? Maybe not Epstein. I wonder why Donald Trump wouldn't want the Epstein files being made public. I mean, here he is in 1992 dancing and leering at women with his buddy Jeffrey Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. In 2002, Donald Trump said Jeffrey Epstein is, and I quote him here, a terrific guy. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. I wonder why Donald Trump wouldn't want the Epstein files being made public. Thing is, many members of Trump's base do. The Republican House Oversight Committee sent multiple letters to Attorney General Pam Bondi demanding the Epstein files be released. Bondi then went on an apology tour to Fox News, promising the documents would be released imminently. Today, the White House made a big show of handing a bunch of conservative influencers binders labeled the Epstein Files, Phase 1. But the whole stunt was a bust.
What's interesting is we're all waiting for bombshells, we're all waiting for juicy stuff, and that's not what's in this binder. That's not what's in this binder at all.
It is the biggest disappointment I think that you'll find. I encourage you to do your own homework on this. It's mostly procedural jargon, Glenn, heavily redacted.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, the Florida Republican leading this charge, said of the binders, all caps, "This is not what we or the American people asked for, and a complete disappointment."
So the initial release, the soft launch, of the Epstein files, was a complete joke. Everything was blacked out. There was no real information. And might I say how despicable it is that the Trump administration has made a joke of a man who did unspeakable things to children? They think it's funny. They think it's a game. That just shows how separated from reality they are. But Republicans were pissed. I remember in those days, they were furious. Now, some moved on, others have not. Anna Paulina Luna made that pretty clear right here, and it leads directly into what James Comer is now saying.
The one thing I've been very frustrated with, Matt, is that I have tried very hard to obtain the Jeffrey Epstein files. I have been contacting the Department of Justice. I've even chased down the FBI, and I keep getting the same thing. We are reviewing documents. I don't believe that the process has been as good as the JFK rollout and the MLK and RFK rollout will be. And so I'm going to continue to put pressure on the DOJ to release that information. Look, there's bad people that haven't been charged for doing really horrible things with underage people. And frankly,
has the DOJ given you any timeline on that, Anna?
No. In fact, I haven't really gotten any communication from the DOJ.
Anna Paulina Luna, for however crazy she is, and she's a MAGA Republican, is a member of Congress, right? She has some authority. She can do outreach to Donald Trump's administration in a way that maybe one of her constituents couldn't. She has a little bit of authority behind her. And she's getting nothing, silence, no info, no expectations of a date of more releases. What could that be all about? Now, it's not just Anna Paulina Luna, though. James Comer has made a pretty shocking accusation about what he thinks is going on with these Epstein files. Can't turn that over. James Comer accuses Trump administration of stonewalling on Epstein files. Congressman James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, accused Donald Trump's administration of stonewalling his request for files about accused child trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. During a weekend interview, Comer talked about his task force on the declassification of federal secrets, which is looking at the Epstein files, JFK files, and the September 11th attacks and other conspiracy theories. So our task force is trying to reach out and question the bureaucrats, figure out which bureaucrats didn't comply with the orders, Comer said. Same thing happened with the Epstein files when Pam Bondi thought she was releasing the files. It wasn't really the Epstein files, obviously. So that task force is kind of working very hard behind the scenes to identify which bureaucrats and which bureaucrats are not complying with the president's orders, he continued. I heard that 10,000 times over the past 2 years. Well, we can't turn that over. That's an ongoing investigation. We're hearing that with the Epstein files now in the administration. The reporter pressed Comer about which Trump officials were refusing to release the Epstein files. Well, that's what when we request information, if they don't provide it, that's what they say. There's an ongoing investigation, Comer replied. Whoever replies to our letter or subpoena, that's what they say, that there's an ongoing investigation. The task force has asked for, the Epstein list and things like that, and that's been the reply thus far. But they still say we're going to release it. We're in the process of releasing it. Comer also questioned whether the U.S. government had used information from the Epstein files to blackmail individuals. The thing that worries me about the Epstein files, and I've read a lot about it, like most Americans have, is that our government was involved in this, he asserted. Were they potentially blackmailing some of the most influential people in the United States or in the world? And in that case, I kind of find it hard to believe that any type of evidence of that would still be in existence. So James Comer, who is the chair of the Oversight Committee, is unable to get these files that MAGA has been clamoring for so long. And he's saying it's because the Trump administration won't give them to him. When he reaches out, the same deep state bureaucrats that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all of MAGA is always raging against is protecting secrets that apparently Donald Trump does not want to get out. What could that be all about? What relationship does Donald Trump possibly have to anyone in and around all of this that could make it possibly unpleasant for him? I wonder. It's one really you got to think on that one. Well, I think Jared Moskowitz has our answer right here.
To what is the majority so concerned, or to use some of the words of my colleagues, afraid to have Hunter Biden sit at this desk? Mr. Chairman, you control the rules. You could give everybody 10 minutes. You could give everybody 15 minutes. You could give everybody 20 minutes. You could give your side as much time. We could go on for days here, quite frankly, because, again, you control the rules, as you just showed. But the one difference that you guys object to is you object to those. You object to the cameras because you don't want the American people to hear the answers. No, you want to take the transcript and release it 6 months after you've gone out and lied about what has happened. And so, again, because the gentle lady from Georgia, I know is such an advocate for women's rights, as she mentioned, and is so concerned about grooming, and apparently we don't have any standards here anymore. Again, I just want to remind my colleagues, because, I don't want them to forget about hypocrisy, okay? I don't want them to forget about hypocrisy. But, Donald Trump was asked about Jeffrey Epstein, and when he was asked, he said, Jeffrey likes him young. Well, how did the president know that? How did he know that Jeffrey Epstein likes him young? Perhaps some people are saying he was there, since you're so concerned. Right, but again, I bring this up not to make jest. I bring it
Point
up.
of order, Mr. Chairman.
I bring it up. I thought we weren't going to interrupt.
Yes, Donald Trump's good friend is involved in these files. They're named after him, in fact. And once again, might I add how disgusting it is that Donald Trump has made a whole joke and a whole show of this. He thinks it's funny. He thinks it's a gambit, that it's a game. And it's crazy that MAGA, which always falls in line with Donald Trump, is now starting to question him on this. And I find it especially absurd when they talk about it, and James Comer and Anna Paulina Luna are actually kind of few examples in which MAGA questions the administration in charge who promised these to you, hasn't delivered them. But Marjorie Taylor Greene just the other day said, oh, more needs to come out about this. We need to know more about everything around Jeffrey Epstein. Ask your buddy Donald Trump. He's in charge last time I checked. And he doesn't want to say anything? But that's what MAGA continues to do. It's this cognitive dissonance that's always been present around the situation. Listen to Don Jr. right here.
We're never going to surrender. It's not our style, man. We don't. At this point, we got to fight, because congratulations. If you're in this room right now, you're probably on the FBI list. You're in with me, my father, my family, so you're in with good company. I am on every list except the Epstein list. We haven't heard anything about that one in a while. I'm fine with all the other lists. As long as I'm not on the Epstein list, we're good, right? Speaking of which, how is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light? I'm trying to figure out how that's possible, right, folks? It's almost like they're trying to protect those pedophiles for some reason. I can't imagine why, right? We're not allowed to say they're groomers, but when they act a lot like groomers, sort of tells you everything you need to know, right?
You're not on the list. You're a headliner. Donald Trump multiple times has said that Jeffrey Epstein was his best friend for a decade. They were best buddies, is what he says. And as we've seen in previous reporting from journalist Michael Wolff, Epstein was still tapped into Donald Trump's White House in his first term. So clearly there was still a connection there. But MAGA wants to say that it's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Barack Obama with the connections, people who never interacted with him or anyone around them. It doesn't make any sense unless you're a MAGA Republican and you're in a cult. But that is where the MAGA mindset is. It's completely broken, which is why I was so shocked to see this kind of response from James Comer. I don't know how much this is going to change, but we should continue to call it out. We're certainly going to on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, you can drop a blue heart in the comments if you stuck around. And until next time, I'll see you soon.